Toyota is one of the most recognizable car brands on the planet. Millions of people drive Toyota vehicles every day, but Toyota wasn't always a giant. It didn't begin with enormous factories, worldwide dealerships, or millions of cars. It began in Japan with a company making something completely different. So how did a relatively small Japanese manufacturer become one of the most powerful automobile companies in the world? The answer isn't just cars. It's a business philosophy. Part 1. Before Toyota became Toyota, long before Toyota became famous for automobiles, the company's story began with textile machinery. The founders were focused on making machines that could make manufacturing more efficient. That experience would eventually influence something much bigger. As Japan's automobile industry began developing, the company saw an opportunity. Cars were becoming an important part of the modern economy. But entering the automobile business wasn't easy. Toyota had to compete against manufacturers with far greater resources and experience. The company needed to find another way to win. Part 2. The problem Toyota had to solve. Imagine trying to compete against a much larger company when you have less money, fewer resources, and a smaller production system. You can't simply build more cars and hope for the best. You have to become smarter. Toyota began focusing on one critical question: how can we produce better products while wasting less? That question would eventually change the company's future. Part 3. The Toyota production system. Toyota developed a manufacturing philosophy that became known as the Toyota production system. The idea was simple, but extremely powerful. Don't waste resources. Don't produce things unnecessarily. Find problems quickly, fix them, and constantly improve the process. Instead of accepting inefficiency as normal, Toyota treated problems as opportunities to improve. That mindset became one of the company's greatest competitive advantages. Part 4. The power of small improvements. Toyota didn't rely on one giant breakthrough. Instead, it focused on thousands of small improvements. A worker might notice that a particular step takes too long. An engineer might discover that a component can be produced more efficiently. A manager might find a way to reduce unnecessary movement inside a factory. One improvement might seem insignificant, but when thousands of improvements are combined over years, the results become enormous. This philosophy is often associated with the Japanese concept of Kaizen, meaning continuous improvement. Part 5. Quality becomes the strategy. Toyota also understood something every business needs: trust. A customer buying a car isn't simply buying metal, glass, and an engine. They're buying something they expect to depend on. They want a vehicle that starts when they need it. They want something that can survive years of everyday use. Toyota made quality and reliability an important part of its identity, and over time, that reputation became one of its biggest assets. Part 6. Toyota goes global. But Toyota wasn't satisfied with becoming successful only in Japan. The company began expanding internationally, and Toyota discovered that its manufacturing philosophy could work on a much larger scale. Production became more efficient, and the brand became increasingly recognized by consumers across different countries. Toyota was no longer simply a Japanese car manufacturer. It was becoming a global competitor. Part 7. More than just cars. Toyota also understood that the automobile industry was changing. Fuel prices, environmental concerns, technology, and changing consumer expectations were creating new challenges. Instead of ignoring these changes, Toyota invested heavily in new technologies. Hybrid vehicles became a major part of the company's strategy. The lesson was important. A successful company cannot depend forever on what worked yesterday. It has to prepare for what customers will want tomorrow. Part 8. Why Toyota's strategy worked. So what actually made Toyota successful? It wasn't just advertising. It wasn't just having popular cars. Toyota built a system focused on efficiency, a system focused on quality, a system focused on solving problems, and most importantly, a system focused on continuous improvement. That's difficult for competitors to copy because it's not just a product, it's a culture. Part 9. The business lessons. Toyota's story contains several lessons for entrepreneurs. Lesson number 1. You don't need to start big. Toyota's journey shows that a company can begin with limited resources and grow over time. Lesson number 2. Remove waste. Every business loses money through wasted time, unnecessary expenses, and inefficient processes. Lesson number 3. Listen to problems. Problems aren't always disasters. Sometimes, they're showing you exactly what needs to improve. Lesson number 4. Build trust. A strong reputation can become more valuable than a single successful product. And finally, never stop improving. Small improvements may not look impressive today, but repeated for years, they can completely transform a company. Ending. Toyota's rise wasn't created overnight. It wasn't built by one product, one advertisement, or one lucky decision. It was built through discipline, efficiency, quality, and thousands of improvements repeated over decades. That's what makes Toyota's story so powerful, because the biggest lesson isn't really about cars, it's about business. You don't always have to be the biggest company in the room. Sometimes, you just have to become better than you were yesterday. This is Money Behind the Story. Subscribe for more stories behind the world's biggest companies.